Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and today we will be speaking with a competitor who has been competing since 2016, stepping on the stage 10 times, with 4 of those times being a national show before earning her pro card in 2017 at the USA's. She has worked in the supplement industry for over 6 years and is currently working with Global Formulas while being a full-time communication student. Hello, Anh Vu. How are you today?
Hey girl, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to have you on, and I would just love to know, what's that one thing that's always going through your head right before you step on stage?
Right before I step on stage, just basically like the entire prep plays through my head really quickly, and then like you go out there and it's just the adrenaline, and then basically just, you know, like you go out there and then you display your hard work and you just have fun. That's probably the number one thing that like pops up right away. Just like have fun up there.
That's so awesome. And you have had quite the journey over the
Yeah.
years, and there's a lot that I want to get into with you, and I think that the audience will love to hear from you. So I want to start off by knowing, I'd love to know your explanation of your love for bodybuilding and the way that it has acted as your escape from many dark places in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up, like, I was not athletic at all. Like, I was always, you know, like the last person to be picked for sports. And I was more of an art geek. Like, I was an art geek. I was in choir, you know, like, never in a million years would I thought that I would become an IFBB pro. But when I did find out about bodybuilding and how I got into it was I actually took one class. It was like a gym class at Orange Coast College, a community college in California. And that was like my first experience with the gym because I had a boyfriend that lifted. And that just led to me becoming, you know, like hooked on, you know, like seeing changes, endorphins, and coming out of like depression and eating disorders, you know, like not feeling like I'm not good enough when you're in the gym. Like it's you and the weights, as silly as that sounds. And my love for bodybuilding, I honestly can't even put into words. Like if I could never step on stage again, I'd still live this lifestyle.
Totally. That's awesome. And I love that you said that. I was actually talking to someone the other day and we were saying, like, so if there wasn't a pro card, would you still actually do this, you know? And
Exactly. Some people are just in it for the wrong reasons. And that's not something that I want to preach. Like, you honestly have to feel it in your heart.
Yeah, I get a lot of girls who come up to me and ask, like, oh, like, I want to get into competing. Like, I'm thinking about competing. What should I do? Blah, blah. I'm like, if you're only thinking about it, like, just get educated first and understand, like, why does this matter to other people? But then more importantly, why does it matter to you? You might find inspiration in other people's stories, but, you know, like you said, it's got to be for the right reasons, and you have to go into it knowing that the payoff is going to happen intrinsically more than anything external that they might be seeking. And, you know, what's interesting to me about you is that your child experiences were kind of dark. You know, and our childhood experiences, I should say, can manifest into adult beliefs, right? That can limit us, or they can try and protect us from growth, and they create resistance in our mind to the things that we need to address. So I'm going to get real and raw right now to everybody listening. Anne's parents divorced when she was 12, and then you just mentioned you were bullied in school and you were also anorexic and bulimic. So how do you
Oh my
think
goodness. Yeah.
you yeah, you
I've
like I
been
said,
through a
you went
lot.
through a lot. How do you think those experiences shaped you in positive ways at this point in your life?
I'm a huge believer in saying that, like your struggles eventually become your strengths. Like that's what basically forced me to grow up. Like I do have a little sister, so she had it worse than me. I mean, like she was only 8 when my parents divorced, and it was one of those things where I knew it was for the best. So that like manifests into my perspective today where like, when things don't go your way, maybe it's for the best. Maybe there's something better coming along. Like when a storm hits,
Mm.
ultimately like, there's a light. There's gonna be a light.
I love that. What a great positive spin. It sounds like you've really learned from those low points in your life, if you even want to call them low points, but those points in your life that maybe weren't as amazing feeling as other times, and have learned the lesson and created a positive affirmation around them, which is awesome. And I think that's a huge key to developing a mindset that serves us in our growth. And um, with your parents specifically, they don't come to your shows, right?
No, no, not no. Like they've asked, like, hey, like, are you still competing? Because right now I'm in like a super, like long off season. I'm planning on going back on stage in 2019. But with my parents, like in the Vietnamese, I guess culture, it's not really a huge thing. Like my parents are more focused on when I'm going to graduate than when I'm going to step on stage. And, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, like, they're still supportive of me just going to do what I want to do as long as I'm happy at the end of the day.
Mm. Does it ever bother you that your parents haven't been to a show? Because I know you love them and that they support you.
Yeah.
But does it ever make you sad to know that they don't like come or want to come? I don't know if it's what that they want or not want, but does it make you sad that they're not in the audience sometimes?
I mean, I see like like other competitors have their families there, and it makes me kind of feel sad at times. But I mean, a lot of the shows that I did, there was a lot of traveling that had to do with it too. I mean, like I went all the way to Chicago, Miami for like nationals, and I don't expect them to fly all the way out there. Like with my whole competing, although like I did have sponsorships, like a lot of it still comes out of your pocket, if not everything. So
Mhm.
I basically paid for. You're like, I know that.
Yes.
But basically, like I financed everything myself, so I put myself through competing. Like I don't like relying on them for too much help. So so
That's
I so
awesome.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really cool. I mean, it's also nice that you're doing something that you love and they support you in doing the things that you do love, regardless if that means that they're there or not, like knowing that you can come home at the end of the day and they're going to ask you like, "Hey, are you competing again?" Like they obviously have interest and
Exactly.
that's cool. And bodybuilding has a really cool way of testing us. And you just mentioned financially is one of those ways. And you're a full time student and you're a full time employee, right? Or partner in a company. I'm not entirely sure of your role. So
No, 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 it's okay. I'm the sales manager for Global Formulas, so I basically handle all the wholesale accounts for Jacob. So that's
that's
what I do.
awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So you're working all the time. I mean, obviously, you're working for this growing company and you're working for your degree. So do you find that sometimes it can be hard or difficult to manage that along with living this lifestyle that you have chosen?
I mean, at first I was like, how the heck am I going to juggle all this? But it goes back to one of those things where like you kind of have to try it before you quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a huge advocate of work ethic being like a huge driver. So I was like, okay, I'll accept the job. I'm not going to quit school because, I'm so close. I only have like 1 or 2 semesters left, depending on how many units I want to knock out. So I just kind of went for it. But now I wake up like at 5:30 a.m. in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then my days don't end until like 9 or 10. But like I said about bodybuilding, I love it. So I don't like consider it as, a hindrance or another task that I got to do. It's like my time to just get away and it kickstarts my day now. So I'm fine with all this.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's how I feel. Like, I think from an outsider's
Love it.
perspective, like someone who's not in this sport or in even this industry at all in fitness, like let's be real, like if you're in the fitness industry, you're listening to this, there's no pressure to compete. You're still living a very honorable and awesome life. It's healthy, it's good for you, and you should be proud of that and be okay with that. You don't have to compete to experience these things. And same thing with the average gym goer. If you're listening, if you're
Exactly.
like committed, and I feel weird saying average gym goer, but like I feel like that's just the word that'll like connect with people. But like you're committed to a healthy lifestyle, you should be very proud of yourself. Like there are people though who don't feel that way, and I'm sure that people listening to what you're saying, and sometimes with me it's like they're like, wait, you're going to work and you're running a business. I actually just quit my job, so I'm only working for myself, which is awesome. But you know what, there
Oh,
are
wow. Well, congratulations, girl.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But it's definitely like people will
Yes.
look at us and be like, oh my gosh, like, how are you managing? Because I'm a full-time student as well. So I know what you're going through, but I study online.
Yeah.
Do you go to school or do you study online?
I do. Oh, you and me are both the same then. We are online students.
Yes, it's so
I
nice, huh?
yeah. I go to Arizona State University, but I do everything online. So it allows me to like manage my time a lot better. Like for instance, if I have a meeting in the morning and like I can't knock out schoolwork, then I can do it when I get home. So
So inspiring. Like hearing what you're working a big job. Like you have a lot to manage, I'm sure. Like that's no small task, and you're still able to commit at the end of the day to receiving your education and finishing what you started, and that's awesome. Why did you choose
I
communication?
appreciate that.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
That's okay. Why did you choose communications?
So I I'm a talker. And I figured with my communications degree, I can branch off and like do what I want. Like I listen to a lot of Gary Vee podcasts. If you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
So I kind of modeled, like my 20s based on his philosophy of, like experimentation and whatnot. And with a communications degree, I mean, like, I feel like the world is my freaking oyster.
Mm-hmm.
So
Especially in today's
I
world. Mhm.
so I found my niche in, like supplements, and I plan on staying with Global for a very long time. I mean, like I consider Global Formulas like my family.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
And you've pretty much been with them for, I mean, when they were going to the Olympia, right? Like when they were working a booth or something. Like, how did you get started with them? How did you develop that relationship?
So I met the CEO, Jacob, at a random muscle contest show. Actually, I was working the muscle contest booth, and we just happened to be introduced to each other. We got to know each other. I was brought on as a sponsored athlete first. And then after I was brought on as an athlete, he was looking for help at the Olympia. So, I was like, yeah, I want to come. I want to come help. And he said this, and he'll he'll probably listen to this podcast, like like but he said this. He's like, dang, this girl does not stop.
Yeah, that's that
So
work ethic.
yes, I'm all about the work ethic. So that led to like him finding out that I work in the supplement industry. I was at the Max Muscles in Newport Beach and Irvine. And yeah, from there he basically took me under his wing, and then now I consider him like a really close friend, a mentor, and yeah, go
That's so
global.
cool. Oh, I can tell you're so passionate about it and you truly love that team. Like that's so awesome. And um I'd love to know just about sponsorships in general. You have a lot of them, which is so cool. It's a really good thing. How did you begin to even approach that? Were they approaching you? I think there's a lot of athletes on, at least because now that I've had this podcast up for a little while, I have people who mostly it seems to be a lot of competitors who are just loving it, and they're people who probably want sponsorship.
Yeah.
So, how did you go about achieving that?
Like when I first started in the industry, I was like, oh my God, I gotta get sponsored. I gotta be with like XYZ company. And now, like, as silly as that sounds, with like the team behind me, like I would never do anything just for, like financial benefit. And like I'm loyal to what I truly use. So the people that I'm behind are Angel Competition bikinis. For my meal preps, I use Meats to You. And I actually found out about them because I'm friends with one of their core employees. And, like I tried them out first, and then I was like, okay, this stuff is bomb. And bling competition jewelry, I actually bought a pair of earrings at a show. I forgot which one it was, but I went up to the booth. I met Jill, the owner, and then I bought the earrings, and then those became my good luck earrings. Like those were the ones that I wore for the year that I turned pro. So so from there, like I became an athlete for them because I love their jewelry. And with Global Formulas, I mean that was just crazy how it turned into a job.
Yeah, that sounds awesome though. That opportunity really presented itself
Right?
nicely. So,
It's one of those things, man.
yeah, exactly. You grow and you manifest these awesome things into your life and people as well. And it seems like you've just become a magnet for the things that you love to love you right back. And that's awesome. And
It just happens. Yeah.
yeah, it's so natural. And when it's natural, like you said, when it's natural, it's a way better feeling. Like you use them. So of course, suggesting or recommending them is not something you wouldn't be doing already. And now you can just
Exactly.
represent in a different way and really stand behind them and help them to grow as well. And they can help you to grow. And that's really cool. It's symbiotic, right?
Exactly. Yes. We're all a team here. It's all about teamwork.
That's so cool. And in obviously like bodybuilding, there are things that are gonna come up, and you mentioned one of them, which is like sometimes people promote products that they don't use. So in other situations of your bodybuilding career thus far, what things have tested your morals or have even made you question what your why is?
So there were a lot of things. I mean, like I obviously when I first started competing, I was like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to be an ISBB pro. Um, so I had a coach, and this was like early in 2017. I think it was right after I placed eighth at USA's. Yeah, I placed eighth at my first national show. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm disappointed, but I'm going to keep going. And then, like, he was like, well, you got to take it to the next step. So he was like, like, if you want to take it to the next step, you've got to take, like, performance enhancing drugs. And there was no way that I was going to. So I took it from him, but I never took anything because it's not in my heart to do so. Like I want to do this the right way. I want to do this my way. So I'm not compromising anything, and I never will.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I think the one of the beautiful things, especially about the bikini division, is that we do have the opportunity with consistency, dedication, and lots and lots and lots of work. We can
Yeah.
build incredible physiques. And yeah, it can be unhealthy sometimes the way that we approach it, especially upwards leading to the show. But it's nice to know that we do it completely as naturally, like naturally for ourselves and as healthfully as possible, that's a rewarding feeling. And I think that a lot of girls listening can relate to that pressure that you felt at the beginning, like I'll do whatever it takes, but I won't do that. And
Right? Oh yeah, I slowly but surely learned that that was not the right perspective to have.
right, yeah, like I know I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like, I'll do whatever it takes to get like my pro card and like grow in this sport and this and that. And it's like
Yeah,
within reason, people. Like there's
exactly. And
just because I said I'm do whatever it takes, it's within my moral standards and the things that I want to see myself achieve. And if you do
exactly.
that stuff, you're not a bad person. It doesn't make you,
Exactly. I have
bad.
nothing against it. If you do it, awesome. Like to each his own. But it's just
Exactly.
not for me.
Right. That's how I feel. I'm like, you do you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do me, and then like we'll see what
Yep.
happens. All good. Yeah, exactly. um, okay. True. So now this, I did not warn you about this question, but it just kind of came to me, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna ask you because you said you were open to being completely open and honest. If it's too much, just tell me. But
No worries, girl.
there's some.
I answer 10 out of 10. I am down to be completely open with it.
Thank you. Yeah, for those listening, I always ask people who are on a scale of 1 to 10, how open are you to being completely real and raw? So we about to dive in. A lot of girls feel like there's pressure to get breast augmentations in order to do well in the sport. What's your take on that?
So I have implants. I just didn't go, like too big because that's just not the look that I wanted. But I honestly don't think you need it to excel in this sport. I mean, like you see a lot of these pro girls out there, like they don't have implants. Like stuffing can do wonders. like
Mm-hmm.
like I was stuffing before I got my implants, but mine, like I've been wanting them like since before I started competing. Because when I started working out, like especially with my eating disorders too, like I thinned out. So it's just one of those things where I know that it would make me more happy with my self-image. It didn't really have anything to do with competing, but of course it did help, like me look more complete, I guess. But
Yeah, like
but
symmetrical.
yeah, but you don't need it. You don't need it.
That's cool. I think like obviously like this is a sport where I've had people who don't know jack about this sport and they're like, well, you're gonna need to get a breast augmentation to do well. It's like you don't need to. And a lot of these girls, like you just said, they're
Right?
inspired, like they're inspired when they start fitness, when they don't even know what competing is, like they just
Yeah.
they see their body change and there are properties or I guess feelings within our own self that we want to address. Now, I'm one of those people who's like stuff it to the brim. Like I
Yeah, girl.
I will, because like you said though, it makes me feel good. Like I look and I'm like, dang, I look different. Like
It
it's
does.
nice.
And then like, like the stage shots come back and you're like, who's that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Someone asked, oh, this is good. I had like I sent progress photos to my coach in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't wearing my competition suit. Hell no, that thing's not gonna fit at the beginning of a prep. But getting closer to the show, I was like, I'm gonna wear my competition suit and my progress pictures, and it's stuffed. And these people were commenting on I'm on Team Edge, and they were commenting on that page, on that photo, like she got a boob job, like, and I was like, no, this
Oh
is
my God,
pure.
how funny.
Yes, I was like, this is pure stuffing, man. Like, it was so funny. Like, you can look at the difference. It makes a big difference whether you
Right?
stuff or not. It doesn't even matter, like you said. Like, there's so many girls who don't stuff. Like, I competed in Vegas. Oh, which, by the way, I was super lucky to actually witness your pro debut in
Oh,
Vegas.
did you really? Aw.
Yes, I was there and yeah, you rocked it. It was so cool to actually see that because I was inspired. I was like, this is a girl who got her pro card and is stepping on stage. Like, this is her first pro debut. Like, one day I want to be in that position. And what a great show that was, huh? Like, Vegas was awesome.
It
Uh,
was an amazing show. Yeah, like Muscle Conscious is always well run. Love it.
Seriously, I've only competed in muscle contests, but I've heard that it's like the best of the best in terms of the flow. And I'd actually, moving on from what I was going on a tangent, but I'd love to know like what parts of the prep leading up to your pro debut were really rough for you, and like what kinds of mental and physical healing, because you mentioned like there were lots of healing things that you needed to do to actually realize that you needed to take some time and have a break. Like what was that like for you that
Yeah.
made it so rough?
Yeah, I had to pull the plug. I knew it was time. But I competed, like nonstop for 2 years to get my pro card. And this last prep, like my body was just not firing off like it used to. Like I'm the kind of person that's like very type A personality too. So like I followed everything to the T, like I checked in with my coach when I was supposed to, but like there just comes a time when you just got to prioritize your health. And now I'm actually with a different coach who's taking on like more of like a different approach, and his views align more with mine. I mean, like there's like different methods to how like one should prep. I mean, I have nothing against my previous coach. It's just his methods didn't really work for me in the long term. I mean, like I preach longevity, health, and like getting your mindset in the right place and competing for the right reasons. And I feel like it just was the right thing to do to just pull out of my current preps and just take an off season and just take it day by day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think some people can be scared to take an off season or feel like, oh,
Mhm.
I'll lose momentum, or oh, I won't do as well, or I'll get fat and I won't have that lean look that I'm supposed to represent as an IFBB pro all year round, which I think is a really common misconception. Especially what I'm noticing online is like a lot of girls are coming out and saying like, this isn't healthy, this isn't normal. Like the way I look in this left picture versus the right
Yeah.
picture. And did you experience things throughout your reverse thus far where you're like, I'm not as comfortable in my body. Like I can notice like more fat, or I can notice like more roundness and softness. And did that
Oh
make you
yeah, absolutely. Like I'm a woman, I'm human. I get those days where like I'm a little bit more uncomfortable, but then I think about it and I look at the bigger picture. I meam, like right now my reverse for the most part is going phenomenal. I'm doing it with Paul Revelia, if you're familiar with him.
Mhm.
And he has like bodybuilding experience himself, and has really helped me get into the mindset of like taking this as a long like journey instead of trying to rush things. I know now that like this off season, despite like feeling a little fuzzier sometimes, it's going to benefit me in the long run. Like I'm young, so I'm 24. I definitely want to make sure that I'm taking the necessary time off while I can, and then like taking the necessary steps to make sure that I can do this for a long time.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Especially as you're like progressing in your life, like there's different needs and goals that you'll have throughout. And it's cool that you found something right now that's actually complementing that and um, helping you to get there. So, what I would love to have kind of wrapping this up is to give those competitors, or I guess I should say those people who are thinking about competing or who are currently competing and want to go pro, your best piece of advice.
So don't rush it. It probably is going to be like the first thing. Like we all have our own timeline and our own journey of when we're going to reach our goals. And, like sometimes things don't go as planned. And that's okay. So just, be patient with yourself. Don't compare like your first chapter to someone's 10th chapter. And you never know if you love it unless you try. So I know like a lot of people are scared of trying to compete for the first time. I say just do
Mm-hmm.
it. Take that risk. But like you said, Celeste, like educate yourself on the sport, and make sure that you're prioritizing your health. I mean, like competing in the grand scheme of things, like we're pushing our bodies to our limits, but have a game plan for after, have a game plan for what happens when you step off the stage.
That's really, really good advice, and definitely something that a lot of first-time competitors miss the mark on. I know I did, and I know that people who hear that are going to benefit, and I hope that they do take that action and take that advice, because it does make a huge difference, because your body
Oh
needs
yeah,
it.
I've gone through like a few rebounds in my time. so,
Yeah,
so I've learned from my mistakes.
that's good. Yeah, and you like, the rebound doesn't just stop like when you become a pro. So I've learned. You can
No,
still
it doesn't.
you can still rebound even when you're a professional. Just like it's just like any sport, right? Like no one's perfect, and just when you have a card that says you're a pro, it doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. It just means that you're more like you're on the elite level of the sport, which is awesome. And I think it's really helpful that you are someone who has gone through multiple rebounds, but is now going through a successful reverse, feeling good, feeling healthy,
Yeah,
getting
this
on.
is actually my first time that like I've been, this far out from my last show, and I'm not like, feeling sluggish, lazy, eating everything in sight.
Mhm.
so
Good.
so it's
That's
good. It's good.
awesome. Yes, exactly. To see that, like, anyone listening, like, you can absolutely do the same thing. Like, don't give up on yourself
Yes,
after one bad rebound or two or three, however many it takes. Never give up. Just and I think one of the coolest things you said was just not rush it, right? You preach
yeah.
longevity, you preach the mindset, you preach the health, and it's awesome that you've been sharing that with us today. And I so appreciate all your time, and I'd love for everyone else to share some appreciation back to you. So can you let them know where they can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram is just AnVFit. So it's ANHVSIT. and I don't really use anything else on social media, but at like every muscle contest show, you'll find me at the Global Formulas booth.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I'll see you in July then.
Yes, that would be great.
Cool. Well, I'm going to put all that information in the show notes so everyone can link up with you and share with you how awesome this has been. Thank you for getting vulnerable. I feel like this was one of the first episodes where even I felt comfortable enough to open up that conversation. So I appreciate that as well. We created this beautiful space to share that way. And
Yes, I love what you're doing, Celeste.
thank
Like,
you.
continue this. What
Thank
what you're
you.
doing is amazing for the community.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That means it seriously means a lot to me, and I appreciate all the support that I'm getting. And um anybody listening, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe, rate, and review. That helps a lot, so more people in this community and others can hear these messages and these stories and know more about bodybuilding and more about being a professional athlete or just an athlete in general and living these lifestyles. So with that being said, make sure to check out www.celestial.fit/podcast for all the show notes and to connect with Anne even further. And then, of course, I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this podcast. Just make it awesome.